Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Christopher Donald, and I'm going to be doing a demo for you today on making a double-walled enclosed form. These are pretty weird and kind of fun. The one that most people are aware of or familiar with would be a ring bottle. This is going to be a slightly taller form, basically like a thermal like bowl. I like these as ice cream bowls. This is going to be a double-walled bowl. Go ahead and get this going here. Um, First off, you want to use pretty decent quality clay when you're trying to throw something enclosed or double walled. Um, any lumps or anything like that are probably going to make your life a hell. Um, these are right at the apex of throwing ability for most people, so make sure that you get out of your own way a little bit. And like, I almost never wheel wedge, but for enclosed forms and double walled forms, I will wheel wedge a little bit, which is drawing the clay up and down a few times to sort of warm it up and wheel wedge a little water into it. Now, unlike everything else that I make for the most part, um, this one I do not do a flat floor um, because it's enclosed. I kind of like maintaining this sort of donutty feel. So I do a rounded bottom on it, and I compress it with a small wooden rib instead of like there's a little kidney-shaped wood rib instead of my flat wood rib. That's 6 times fast. All right, so I've compressed the inside. Next, I need to create a donut of clay. So I'm going to kind of dig my thumb underneath, and I'm trying to maintain the roundness here, but bring up the clay a little bit so that I have a thickness, and then I need to split that. So I'm going to take my finger through the sponge, and I'm going to split this wall. Like that. So now I have basically 2 walls. This is also how you make a dish for, I can make this into a flower pot, basically, at this step. So I would throw the inside part as the inside of the flower pot, and this would be the dish of the flower pot. We're going to get a little weirder than that. So we're going to actually throw something that has 2 walls, but then we're going to bring them together. And one of the issues with this is you need this inner wall to be fairly tall, and you need the outer wall to be fairly tall. I'm going to turn down the wheel speed a little bit. I'm going to push underneath this. It helps kind of lift it up a little. And then I'm going to throw this outer wall. Not too bad. A little bit of a wobble in it. Like I said, this is right at the apex of what most people can do because it is all about material control. All right, so I need an outer wall that's as tall as I can manage, an inner wall that's as tall as I can manage, and I need to start slowing this down a bit because I don't want this to flare. I'm trying to keep this wall close to the other one because I'm going to need to bring them together. And that's not going to happen if centrifugal force is pushing this outward. All right. Put a little bit of water on this one. And this will give you fits. I'm basically throwing with one hand, doing a pull with just my finger and thumb because there's not enough room for me to fit my hand down in there. All right. So now I have 2 walls, and I need to bring these together. So one thing I want to watch out for is I don't want either the inside of this to be too slimy or the outside of this one to be too slimy. They're not going to want to join up together. I'm going to want clean hands, and I'm going to end up using a wooden tool to help with this process. All right, again, I'm going to slow it down a little bit. And now I'm going to use my wood tool to kind of shape this inner part I'm going to shape it outward, and I'm going to gradually kind of make it into a bowl on the inside by kind of folding it out. I'm using a tool instead of my hands because the tool is going to be able to manipulate the clay with more force in a smaller area. If I try and use my fingers, I can't put the same amount of pressure and force with my thick fingertip as I can this narrow tool. And I can bend this tool so that it's on edge even, and it's even narrower. So I need to use this wooden tool to basically help push these together. Then once they start getting close, I just need to encourage them to join up. There we go. And again, I'm going to use my wooden tool, and I'm going to take my time here blending this edge because I want a really nice, strong, blended connection between the two. I'm not using water. I don't want to use water because this is about getting this clay to stick. And if I have a really wet connection there, those two pieces are not going to come together right. All right, now as I get this, so I know it's really well blended, and I'm pushing back and forth, sometimes from the inside out, sometimes from the top, sometimes from the outside in. I need to compress it from every direction. Once that's looking really well connected, then I can use my sponge, a little bit of water, and start doing a little bit more shaping. And the shaping part for me with this is wanting to get this to feel more bulbous, more bubble-like, and less like it's just the top of a wall. So I'm going to use my metal rib on the outside here, kind of curve it, and I'm almost scraping as much as I am shaping. I'm just trying to make sure that I get this top part of the bowl to be as fat and pillow-like as I can. The bottom part, I'm going to have to trim it. There's almost no way you throw this with like a perfectly tapered underside bottom and a nice pillowy top. Like, good luck with that. It's pretty hard to do. I think every now and then I'm able to achieve one that's kind of like that, but for the most part, you're not going to get there without some bottom trimming. And now this part, I'm actually scraping more than I am pushing, because the more I push, the more it wants to kind of change the outside wall. And what I'm trying to do is just get this shaped into a nice round. And so sometimes that's going to take a little bit more scraping than it is shaping. There we go. That's pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Why the metal rib? A metal rib requires a lot less water to slide, and I don't want a bunch of water on here. This is going to be barely holding itself together as it is, and if I introduce a lot of moisture, it's going to want to wet down and decompress and basically not want to hold its shape. All right, now that I feel is about as far as I can push this at this state with it being wet. I know once this sets up, I can trim that a little bit and I can make it perfect, like really nice. For the inside shape, I'm going to use my metal rib again. But again, if I'm going to go as far as I can at this state. And then if this isn't perfect, I'm going to fix it later with a little bit of trimming. Although this guy's like 90% what I actually am looking for. That's going to be a nice, wide looking kind of a rim. So that's going to look really good. In the interest of me not needing to do a whole separate video on what the backside of this looks like, let me grab a finished one. So this is one that is already done. I'm all covered in clay, but and what I like to do with them too is that after the throwing process, I'll push them into an oval, and then I'll do all of the trimming just by hand, or I'll trim the bottom of it and then kind of spray it down a little bit and get it to soften up a tiny bit, and then push it back into an oval at that point. I really like them as ovals. There's just something, oh boy, all the dust from the inside of this one into the new one. There's something really just satisfying about it being like this sort of blood vessel type form. What's cool about these is that because it's double walled, it's insulated. And so if you're holding it and you have ice cream in it, the ice cream doesn't melt from the heat from your hands. It's kind of cool. Now, when you're letting this dry, I can let this get to like early leather hard, and then I need to put a hole in it with a pin tool. And that lets the air out. You'll actually hear it. It'll go when you do that. So make sure for enclosed forms like this, you always need to put a pinhole hole in them while they're drying, or they'll crack. They'll just split themselves. This is actually really easy to get off of here. It's completely enclosed. I could do things to alter the outside of it now if I wanted to, and it would not collapse because it is a big balloon, essentially. I'm going to clean up that bottom edge, and then grab my wire it off as normal. There we go. And this one also has a thrown foot on it, so I added this foot after the fact, which means I don't have to leave so much clay. I mean, that's a lot of clay to have to leave on the bottom. So I would throw a foot on this after the fact. But you can see, super easy to pick up, and really interesting, satisfying form. And you can do them any size. I've done them fairly large. I mean, like up to like this big with an enclosed wall. The bigger you go, make sure you leave your wall thick enough that you can achieve this. A really thin wall does not want to come back in together. So there's a certain wall thickness where this kind of works well. Other than that, that is it. Thanks for joining me, and make sure that you subscribe if you would like to be alerted for new content as it's posted. I'm going to have a whole mixture of hand building and wheel throwing techniques, and eventually we'll work our way up into some tile making, some mold making, some more sculptural techniques, and some decorating techniques. I got 40 years worth of knowledge to kind of unpack onto the internet for you guys bit by bit. So take care, and I'll see you back here soon. Bye.